Hello everyone, welcome to another Coding and Philosophy episode.
I'm here with the ex-web developer, current armchair philosopher, and business student Yuho.
I'm here with the ex not knowing how to code, but now knows how to code and is working as a tester 3.
Yeah.
And we are in the old studio, or I don't know, what you call this, the old studio?
A studio.
Yeah, a studio. We are in a studio. We move around. We're like free agents when it comes to podcasting studios. We're there, we're there. I mean, we're everywhere. We're everywhere, but nowhere at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And for this episode, this morning I had, not even this morning, but lately I've been starting to read the Bible. Do you have a moment to talk about Jesus?
You are interested in the stories in the Bible lately.
Exactly. That's
right.
Specifically the Old Testament. And I've been reading the Moses stories. And that's the way I see them. They're stories.
Mm-hmm.
And you can derive some history. You can
Right.
derive some lessons.
Mm-hmm.
You can derive whatever you want. They are what you want them to be, in a way.
That's cool. Yeah. That's a nice way to view stories. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been reading a crash course in what the Bible actually is. It's 2 books. You got the Old Testament and you got the New Testament. And the Old Testament is sort of like, it's a prophecy that is being told, like, hey, here's a prophecy, and the New Testament, the prophecy is kind of fulfilled.
Okay.
And actually, what Jews believe in is that they also believe in the Old Testament, or they read the Old Testament, but they don't think that Jesus isn't the second coming. Jesus is in the New Testament. So they don't believe in Jesus being the prophet, or the prophecy isn't fulfilled. You know what I mean? So
Not really.
So,
Jesus is not a part of the prophecy.
No. Because the Old Testament it tells a prophecy, and the New Testament is how the prophecy is fulfilled.
It's fulfilled. All right.
Yeah. So the Jews go, no, that's not true. The New Testament. This is the way I understood it. Do you get it?
No, still no. I don't understand your understand of how the Jews views the Bible. That's part I don't understand.
So they also believe in the...
But what is the significance of you telling me this background?
Well, just I found it interesting.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah.
I was expecting it allude to the topic of we are going to present to our audience.
Well, I'm laying out the foundation, or the background, let's say.
Okay.
So, the prophecy of what the Bible is made out of, the Old Testament, that's what I'm reading, is the Old Testament. And it's made out of basically books, and most of them are written by Moses, or the books of Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the story of how he leads these people out of Egypt, and then is gonna bring them to a land of milk and honey and greatness and whatnot.
The promised land of New and
The
Honey.
promised land.
The promise.
Exactly.
It's a promise.
Which I feel is a very...
It does become Israel.
Yeah.
It does eventually become Israel, but the state of transition is a desert.
And I think Israel, or the country, or what you're talking about, it's still... I think that maybe that's the conflict, is that the Jews still believe that that's not I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to move away from this topic, but I'm just talking, I'll tell you what I've learned from reading the books of Moses.
Okay. Tell me your takeaways.
My takeaways is I feel he was a cult leader.
A cult leader.
Moses.
What leads you to believe that
because
he's a cult leader?
The way cult leaders operate is that they always go, look, I'm not the guy, but I know the guy. Or like they are never the person in charge. they just like serve the big man on campus. They serve the big whatever entity is. You know, that's how cults usually operate. Is that there's the prophet who can speak to God, like Joseph Smith in the Mormons. You don't know?
I don't know.
Well, anyways, when you have any religious organization or like cult, whatever name we want to call them, there's the person who speaks to God, and the big God is the big head Makademak. He's the big guy in charge. So you can never, if you want to start a cult, you can never go out there and say like, hey, I'm the guy. You can't do that. You have to go, hey, I know this big entity, this big guy. You know, you're just the servant of it. And what Moses often did when he was leading them, the people, and every once in a while people got really upset.
Yeah.
Hey, I think
upset.
Like
Yeah, they must be upset. They're in the middle of desert.
Exactly.
But while being promised that they're coming to, somewhere is better than their previous enslaved state of Egypt.
Yeah, so Moses...
Which actually, they were a slave, but at least they have some structure. But now they are a free man, but in the middle of nowhere.
That's what they often said. Or the people complain like, hey, I mean, when we were in the Egypt, at least we had some water.
And bread.
And bread. And
so even though we are slapped every day, but we can eat bread.
Exactly.
Continue.
So Moses the tactic he used, which I think a lot of cult leaders also use, is that they go, he used fear a lot. That, hey, God is really angry with you guys. But I'm going to go talk to him to see if I can kind of change his mind. So anyway, so people got really upset at Moses. Hey, you're leading us astray. And then Moses would kind of not say anything. And then when a tragedy.
Yeah, or incident or accident.
Yeah,
or something bad happens.
Something bad happens. So Moses would come and then like, hey, I spoke with God. And he's really angry with you guys. You know, and that's why this accident happened. But, and then all the people started going like, please, can you talk to God and tell him, we're sorry. We're sorry for doubting you. And like, that's his way of like kind of getting back, getting a hold of the people again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something which he often employs, is that tactic.
Yeah.
And also, when there was also a story of when Moses went away, he was like, hey, I need to go to the Sinai mountains and talk to God. And then while he was away, the people built this golden bull and started worshiping that instead. They basically, worshipped something else. And then he came back and he was really angry at them for like, hey, you guys have abandoned what I've been teaching. What God has been teaching. But then he did also something which is very, what I see cult leaders doing a lot, where he gathered his most trusted followers, people who still believed in him, and then he weaponized them, and they went through the village and killed all the non-believers or the people who followed this new religion, new idea. And that's something which cult leaders often do, is that they
eliminate competition.
Exactly. And it's like this, it's a two-pronged solution, because one, on the other hand, it makes the people who follow you more devoted for you if you do something drastic like that, and it also eliminates the competition.
I would have to fact check your point that Moses assassinate the people who did not want to follow his God. I have to fact check that.
Well, sure, but the story goes like this. He said to the people, I need to go to the mountain, talk with God. Then he came back, and the people, in the meanwhile, people built this golden bull, started worshiping that. Then he was really upset at them. And actually, after that incident, he went back to the mountains and then brought the tablets. You've heard of the tablets?
The testaments.
Yeah, the 10 commandments.
I mean.
And the first commandment was
There was no other God.
that's interesting, right? So after that incident,
Mm.
the most important one of the rules is there can be no other gods,
I
right?
can understand that actually. I can
Yeah.
understand the purpose and the meaning and the significance underneath that first rule.
Yeah. So he I think I use the word cult leader or religion, but there's a lot of there's a lot of similarities in the way that Moses operated and in the way that I've seen some like.
But for the love of argument, if we analyze by semantics or by words, cult leader consists of cult and a leader. Moses is a leader because he has follower and he persuaded all the people to follow him. And it's a cult because he talks about God a lot. So by definition, he's a leader and it's about a cult. So he is a cult leader.
Yeah, that's true. The biggest one of all time, I think.
Is there two arguments you brought up that makes you see Moses is a cult leader? One is his behavior is there's a bigger entity out there and he is just a medium and communicator of that higher being. He didn't like the fact that the followers worship a different god other than his, and that also means deviates from the belief. They renounce the current belief and value system for a new thing. And the third one is, this one is new information for me. The third argument you brought up is he eliminate the followers who renounce the God, that God.
Yeah.
But he unite people under the same thought, value, and emotion. Because if they are unified in a sense that they align themselves towards a higher being and conduct in such a manner that the higher being want them to behave, they follow a rule of pattern, they act out in a rule, and that resolve a lot of moral conflict. That's actually Moses is communicating with God to resolve moral conflict. Two people fighting each other over a situation, and at that time there is no written rule or anything to say how to behave or how to resolve that kind of conflict. And Moses acts as the communicator with a God. It can actually say the wisdom on behalf of God that maybe this is the better, a moral, an ethical citizen should behave. And more pattern than that accumulate to the commandments, which lay out the 10 rules to live by. And if you follow those rules, they become like a civilized and domestic, in a sense, people.
Yes.
Rules.
So you're saying the utility of Moses, basically, is that he created a people. He unified the people, made them all follow these similar rules, that there would be less conflicts. And I agree. But also, whenever you it got me thinking when even reading the 10 Commandments. A lot of them had to do with control and controlling the rules he came up with for the people.
Control.
Yeah, exactly.
Please expand on that. What do you mean by control?
I mean that whenever you want to have control over a group of people, you create this rule. I can't recite the...
Yeah, don't kill people seems like a good control.
Well, but also, that's maybe 7th or it's like really down on the list.
And
But the first one,
treat your neighbor as if you would like to treat. I may recite wrong. Treat
I
your
think-
neighbor as if you would like to be treated, or you would like to treat yourself.
I don't think that was one of the rules.
That is one of the rules.
Is it?
Or don't covet that of your neighbor.
Yeah, don't covet
Don't
that
covet.
of your neighbor, and don't bear
Treat
false
thy
witness.
treat thy neighbor as if yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound to be a controlling element, but rather like a compass for living.
Yeah, well, it got me thinking how if
Yeah, the first one sounds controlling because there's no, you must have only one God. But my reasoning and my understanding is to have one God, or to have to have one God means you have one alignment. You see one thing's ahead and you aim towards it and you go forward it. No astray, no distraction. You have one goal, you move forward it.
yeah, but that isn't always good because you want to look at the world in a broader sense or
Yeah.
approach it in a broader sense.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I get the idea that it's really useful. Like that's how you get people to do anything, is that you give them a goal, basically. Hey, or let's focus on this. But you don't want everyone to follow in every society or everything. You don't want everyone to follow the same rule, you know?
Yeah.
Even if if let's say you build a society,
Yeah.
you need those people who break the rules because they cause innovation to happen, right?
But I imagine that a group of people living in a desert, what they need is some rules and a structure.
I agreed.
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 We don't need people to have conflict and engage in fight over small strife just because they have that disagreement.
Mhm. But
Those
if-
people need to unite together.
Yeah,
Unite.
but if you create too strict set of rules and everyone just follows them blindly, then nothing advances. Because in order to advance, you
they
need someone to
advance in
break.
one direction.
Hmm?
They advance in one direction. You're insecure.
Yeah, but
Don't know
then,
what for.
especially
No,
back,
you don't get it.
especially back then, there was a bigger, better, more equipped, more smarter tribe that would take and kill them if they weren't, if they were too. I think that's what happened with Spartans, if I'm not completely wrong, is that they focused their entire, the way of life was to war.
To war, yeah.
Yeah. And then after they had
The god they may worship is the god of war.
Yeah. So that's they single-handedly they started conquering a lot of the neighboring places, and then there wasn't really a fight to fight anymore. And then you had an economic power like Athens, which started focusing on the economic aspect and the commerce and whatnot.
But what if you break the rules in order to serve the god?
But let me finish my point here.
Yeah.
So the Athens started to focus on the commerce, and then since the world kind of changed from this constant warfare, the Spartans weren't really needed anymore, or their talents, their warfare talents weren't needed anymore, and the commerce was the new way of the world, and then Athens became the most powerful empire. You see what I'm saying? So basically, when it was the name of the game was war, Spartan was the king. But when they didn't change with the times, they still focused on the war, even though it's like some other traits and talents and whatnot were more appreciated. See? So you don't want to focus on single-mindedly in a single.
It's not a single-minded, but you view. You have an aim, but you change your angle of attack and perspective. You can still break the rules, but in order to serve the higher good, the same higher good.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah, you can still break the rules in order to serve the higher good. So that means that the mind still aligns to whatever higher being that is. But you see that by doing a certain different behavior, but it still leads you to that higher being, because you just change the angle. You can still do that. It's abstract, yeah. This is very abstract. A more concrete way is to shoot a gun, to shoot an arrow. You can still hit a target, but standing from other angle. You just position yourself differently, but you can still align towards one thing. Or you can still see the same star being anywhere in the world. That kind of thing. You change your position, but your alignment can still be the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of lost, to be honest.
This is abstract, and it's difficult to communicate over things that doesn't have a form.
But I wanna go back to Moses and how I really think if you want to be, or if you, let's say you want to learn about cults, or not even cults. I think it's not.
Coding is a cult.
Yeah.
You have to follow a certain way of thinking, way of value, set up rules to follow by. You pick your tribe, a JavaScript tribe, a Python tribe.
That's what we do.
And then each of JavaScript is further segmented into different framework of choices, subgenres.
But I think if you wanna, let's say, learn how to lead people, I think reading the stories from the Bible is a good way, because it does teach you, or you can read it and learn how to control people in a sense.
Okay. If you're smart enough, yeah. But if you're smart enough, you know how to do that without reading the Bible.
Well, yeah, but you can always pick up some tips. That's yeah. But there's a movie which I like. I saw one time. It was called The Book of Eli. And the plot is it's the apocalypse. Everyone has died, and then there's this book, the Bible, that the main character and the main villain try to get their hands on for different reasons. And the main villain tries to get their hands on to control people, because he knows that, okay, if I can just get the knowledge from that book,
all right,
I'm able to set up a religion, set up a bunch of followers, set up this system so that to serve me, basically. And then the main character is like, hey, I just wanna like this. I think he tries to share it. He tries to make his way to a printer where they can print the book and share.
I thought it was an apocalypse. Is everything destroyed?
Well, most things, but you always leave.
But the printer is still working. Yes.
There's still one printer. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, so one printer in the apocalypse. Apocalypse is still in some office building. Yeah. But I think that's a good representation of the book is. You can use it, or you can read it and really learn how to. You can take tips on how to control people with it, or you can be used for do that. Yeah. And also you can get some tips out of it or something. It has. I've thought about some of the rules or some of the things that in the Moses story. One of them was that don't. If someone is blind, don't put obstacles in their way, which caused me to think, like my stoic brain goes that what that means is that if you see someone who is moving towards, let's say, a bad direction, or somewhere where you know that that's not gonna end up, that's not gonna end up to anywhere good. You shouldn't try to put obstacles in front of them and to kind of try to guide them to a different path. You should allow them to walk that path until they encounter whatever badness that there is at the end of the road, and then just you can offer them help afterwards, but not while they are blind. You know what I mean?
But if they are blind, they may not be able to know where they're heading to. They may be completely off stray.
Yeah, but you need to.
You also need them to follow the the right path. Let's just put it like that. So and we still need to have feedback, like feedback to those blind people. I would say, for the more concrete and realistic example, it's my role as a tester, software tester, is new to me. It's very new to me. And as a trainee, I'm pretty much blind in a sense of that. I'm blind because I have no experience and haven't got any real observation on how the landscape look like. I just be put in the environment and just pretty much have to navigate through it. But I'm blind because I haven't developed the visual sense to understand the surrounding. Therefore, I agree that for the blind people, we should not put a blockage, right? But rather provide them with correct feedback so that the blind people can walk the right path. So that is the tech lead, the software testing tech lead, provide me with the correct feedback that when I walk the path, maybe I'm go off stray, and believe me, I was astray many times to be completely off the path. But then he just ping with a lot of the right feedback to pop me up in the right trajectory, and I just continue try to move according to how I see. But of course, how I see may be different from how it should be seen and what is the correct way that benefit the other people. And more transition from the state of blindness to a state of more aware of the surrounding.
But also the good thing about you being blind, quote unquote, is that since the person who sees only has a vision, they have a narrow vision.
Yes.
But then you come in and you're completely blind, and you basically, when you narrow your vision down to what they see, you're taking different things and different understandings with you, and then you communicate with this person, and then you share they are able to learn or see another way of looking at it.
That's it. Yeah. It's a process of transformation from the blind state, which has a lot of potential because you can see a lot, to a state of more defined, but you can have a focused vision, like archer-like vision. It's a process of that transition.
Yeah. And I think with that, we're going to say goodbye to you guys and see you on the next episode of Coding and Philosophy. Remember, keep on
philosophizing
and read stories, whatever stories they are. I want to read the Quran next, or maybe some of the Buddhist stories.
All right.
I've never read them.
Yeah, coding is a religion, but never treat it too seriously, as if it is a worship thing.
Yeah. See you guys.
Goodbye.